Sal Mineo, the young star who once captivated all of America with his role in Rebel Without a Cause, left behind a highly confidential list before he passed away. This list recorded the names of famous gay Hollywood celebrities who had shared secret relationships with him. Among them was a man who had once been seen as the ultimate American icon, someone who led Sal into tragedy and may even have cost him his life. Could it have been these very revelations that led to Sal being permanently silenced? Why did he choose to speak the truth in the final days of his life? And ultimately, what secret was so earth-shattering that Hollywood was shaken to its core and erased all traces of it overnight? All will be uncovered in today's video. Sal Mineo, a rising star, dimmed too soon. With his youthful charm, intelligent aura, and a distinct beauty that stood out amid the sea of Hollywood stars of his time, Sal quickly became a hot commodity in the entertainment industry. He consistently proved his remarkable acting talent through films like Giant, Exodus, and many other daring roles. He also made history as the first Italian-American actor to receive 2 Oscar nominations before the age of 23, a milestone that remains unmatched to this day. However, as one of the first LGBT artists who dared to live openly and authentically in a conservative entertainment industry, Sal was swiftly removed from the shortlist for leading roles. He was labeled as too soft to fit the ideal male image, and the very filmmakers who once hailed him as America's most promising young actor turned their backs on him and cast him aside. Now, let us share a secret with you. Someone entered Sal's life, Bobby Sherman, and he was hiding a shocking secret, a secret so startling that if you're brave enough, I'll tell you about it right now. 1. Bobby Sherman, the exposed affair and the broken engagement scandal. In 1960, Sal Mineo, once a dazzling star thanks to his role in Rebel Without a Cause, was gradually fading into obscurity amidst the rise of new teen idols. The name that once drove young fans wild had now become a faint echo of a golden era. In a desperate attempt to cling to the last shreds of fame, Sal made a risky move. He went public with his relationship with Jill Howarth, the own daughter of Lewis Howarth, a legendary and ruthless film producer whose single phone call could shake the entire Hollywood industry. Sal first met Jill at a backstage party held at the Sunset Tower Hotel. She, with her golden blonde hair, bright red lips, and mischievous eyes that seemed to read every man's desire, walked straight up to Sal and called him the sexiest anti-hero on the big screen. To Sal, Jill was his lifeline. She was beautiful, famous, and came from a family so powerful that no one dared to touch them. She was the perfect mask for him to hide the quietly smoldering fire within, the longing to love another man. Then Bobby Sherman entered his life. Bobby, 4 years younger than Sal, had an innocence that seemed almost unreal, yet his eyes carried an inexplicable magnetism that made it easy for anyone to get lost in them. They met by chance at an NBC recording session. Bobby, curious about the strange feeling when looking at men, pulled Sal aside from the crowd and asked bluntly, "If I don't feel anything when kissing a girl, is that wrong?" Sal laughed. He looked at Bobby for a long moment and replied, "It's not wrong. You just haven't kissed the right person yet. From that day on, they began a series of secret meetings at a penthouse apartment in Laurel Canyon, rented by Sal under a false identity, completely off the radar. Bobby still called his girlfriend regularly, while Sal continued to appear beside Jill at social events. But when night fell, they returned to each other, silently touching, as if the outside world never existed. But no secret lasts forever. One night in August 1963, as Sal left the Beverly Hills Hotel, dressed in athletic wear and dark sunglasses, a gardener recognized a ring Sal was wearing, one that Bobby had previously worn on television. At the same time, a hotel staffer noticed that the room bill listed matching initials, SM and BS, with signatures written in red ink that exactly matched the handwriting on Bobby's fan letters. The information quickly reached Confidential magazine. A Cuban-American reporter followed Sal for 3 days and ultimately captured a scandalous photo. Sal kissing Bobby on the neck beside a car in an underground garage, where they believed no one would ever see them. But the biggest shock didn't come from the photo. It came from Jill Howarth herself. One afternoon, while rummaging through Sal's bedroom drawer looking for medicine, Jill accidentally found a music box. Inside wasn't a necklace or love letters, but a cassette tape, recorded with the panting breaths of Sal and Bobby. There were no words, just moans and gasps. But that alone was enough for Jill to hurl the tape recorder to the floor and scream, as if betrayed by both man and God. She didn't lash out, tear photos, or yell. Instead, she quietly wrote a 4-page letter to the Los Angeles Times, enclosing a copy of the tape with the headline, "I am Sal Mineo's fiancé, and I heard him loving a man." The article was published on a Monday morning and hit Hollywood like an atomic bomb. Paparazzi swarmed Jill, capturing the moment she pounded the steering wheel in a parking lot and burst into silent tears. Meanwhile, Sal's representatives were bombarded with calls canceling contracts, 2 feature films, a Broadway musical, and a national talk show, all axed in less than 3 days. Bobby Sherman didn't escape the fallout either. His manager forced him to sign a declaration denying any romantic involvement with Sal Mineo. Bobby agreed, but on one condition: that all tapes and photos be destroyed. One copy of the recording was burned in the sink of a Universal Studios editing room. But the original? No one knew where Sal had hidden it. After that, Sal vanished completely from the media. A month later, he was spotted sitting quietly at a bar near the San Pedro docks, his eyes vacant, repeatedly writing Bobby's name on cocktail napkins. When the bartender asked, "You still love him?" Sal's simply replied, "Love? I still dream about him." But Bobby Sherman had moved on. He reappeared with a new girlfriend and faced the press with a light-hearted joke. "I'm a man who loves music, not men." The public applauded. Hollywood forgave. Bobby's career bounced back, and Sal, all he had left were cassette tapes, a heart crushed from the inside out. Still, Sal didn't give up. He still believed in love, and his very first love was none other than James Dean, the man for whom Sal would have given up everything. 2. James Dean, a tragic first love. James Dean, the embodiment of rebellion, sensuality, and defiance, didn't just shake up the silver screen. He left Hollywood breathless, with a kind of light that felt too real, in a world built on illusion. But that light didn't only come from his acting talent. It stemmed from a deep, hidden secret that James never dared to reveal throughout his life. A secret named Sal Mineo. Sal entered James's life as if fated, precisely when filming for Rebel Without a Cause began. While everyone else saw them merely as two actors with great chemistry, behind the scenes, they already belonged to each other, but not in the way tabloids would usually report. It was in the heat of the nights at the Beverly Hills Hotel, where James once whispered in Sal's ear, "If I die, burn all the private films we shot together. Don't let anyone see them." So on. Why would a young man, wild and rising at the height of fame, say something like that? Because James Dean knew too well that a single headline could be enough for Hollywood to bury anyone. In the end, he became a victim of that terrifying truth. One day, James's life was threatened. An anonymous letter was slipped into his dressing room, containing a message written in pig's blood. "Choose your career or your little lover boy." James panicked. He cut off all contact with Sal for 3 weeks. But Sal refused to accept that. He went to the set of Giant, standing under the burning sun for hours just to say one thing: "If you leave me, I will die." 3 weeks later, James really did die. A car crash? Maybe. However, an anonymous mechanic once told Confidential magazine that the brakes on that Porsche had been tampered with before departure. He was silenced with $12,000 and a bone-chilling threat: "If you open your mouth, your daughter will never go to school again." No one ever spoke of it again. And Sal, the only person who knew the car, had been taken to a secret garage 2 days before James drove it, remained forever silent. The trauma haunted Sal so deeply that every night he stuffed cloth into the door cracks for fear of being secretly recorded. Some said he hired an exorcist. Others claimed Sal once called NBC in the middle of the night, crying and screaming, "I have James Dean's sex tape, but I can't keep it anymore." The call was immediately cut off. 2 weeks later, the station's office caught fire. Every recording of the call completely vanished. And that was Sal's tragic first love. What comes next, as I'll tell you, is no longer a love story. It is a war. 3. Marlon Brando. A brief love affair that faded away in silence. Rumors began to swirl in 1962, when Sal was frequently spotted near the set where Brando was working, and was often seen leaving the hotel in the same taxi Brando regularly used. A room service staff member at the Chateau Marmont recalled he called it room 304, but it was Mr. Brando who picked up the phone. After that, neither of them left the room the entire night. Brando, already known for his womanizing ways, now appeared even more enigmatic. Yet, according to a source close to Confidential magazine, it was Brando himself who had made the first move, giving Sal the green light during a party at director Elia Kazan's house. From that moment on, the two began to have discreet encounters, drinking, sex, and then sudden disappearances. Sal loved fiercely, but Brando didn't. Their relationship was always in a precarious state, sometimes burning with passion, other times cold and indifferent without warning. On certain days, Brando would praise Sal as a talent who has never truly been loved the way he deserves, only to then cut off all contact for an entire week. One night, Sal paid dozens of phone calls with no one answering. The next morning, an assistant came to return the shirt Sal had left behind, along with a slip of paper bearing a cold message. I do not cultivate feelings for anyone. The affair ended as swiftly as it had begun, without a goodbye, without a scandal, leaving Sal with yet another silent but deep scar. However, just a few months later, a brief article in Movieland Confidential shook the public. Brando once shared a bed with a young actor known for playing gay roles. But who was the one who truly fell in love? No one ever came forward to confirm anything. Yet in Hollywood, silence is sometimes the most bitter confession of all. And from Brando onward, people began whispering about names that grew increasingly unfamiliar. No more public romances or reckless rendezvous, only a string of silent matchmakings and shadowy relationships, unconfirmed by anyone, but also left unchallenged, for no one dared to deny them. 4. Paul Newman. A relationship that had to remain in the shadows. The rumors began to quietly circulate in 1960 during the filming of Exodus in Beverly Hills. Reporters from The Hollywood Reporter noticed that Paul Newman, the ultimate symbol of American masculinity at the time, frequently visited a small apartment on Benedict Canyon Drive. What raised their suspicions wasn't Newman's presence there, but rather the person who always arrived a few minutes earlier, Sal Mineo. At the time, Sal was struggling to cling to the last remnants of fame after his iconic role in Rebel Without a Cause. Meanwhile, Newman was at the pinnacle of his stardom, a celebrity with a beautiful wife, well-behaved children, and a face that graced the covers of major magazines, smiling like a sculpture brought to life, with piercing blue eyes that burned like fire. No one believed there could be any real connection between the two seemingly unrelated men beyond the usual social pleasantries. That changed when the June 1961 issue of National Enquirer leaked a sensational headline. Is Paul Newman secretly dating a male actor who once starred with James Dean? No photo were published. Sal's name was never mentioned. However, within journalistic circles, it was whispered that the article's author, an Italian-American reporter named Marco Allegri, had personally seen Newman and Sal together in a silver Pontiac, turning into the discreet rear parking lot of the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Soon after that article, The Hollywood Reporter made immediate plans to conduct an exclusive interview with Sal. Editor Richard Porter confirmed that Sal had once confided, "Paul is the person I've loved the most, and I've never seen anyone look at me the way he did that day," just after the cameras stopped rolling. But that interview was never published. According to an anonymous editor, only 3 hours after the draft was uploaded to the system, Warner Brothers sent a threatening memo. If the article appeared anywhere, all advertising contracts with the paper would be immediately terminated. 2 hours later, the article was wiped entirely from the system. Sal's phone line was disconnected that very day. And within the following 3 weeks, A number of junior staff members at the newsroom were replaced. Sal had no idea what was happening. He tried calling Newman, but no one picked up. He wrote letters, but received no reply. The only thing he got back was a thin, folded note passed discreetly through an unnamed assistant, containing just one brief sentence. "You are not to mention me. You are not to mention us." Signed, P. But perhaps the most haunting detail is the existence of a recording that has never been released. According to a source who once worked at Paramount, Sal recorded his final conversation with Newman, where he pleaded to make their relationship public. Newman's response was, "I love you, but not enough to give up everything for you." Sal kept that recording in a Super 8 film canister, hidden behind a wall-mounted painting in his Santa Monica apartment. After Sal's death in 1976, the apartment was searched by a group of unidentified individuals, according to a report from local police. Everything remained intact, except for the film canister. It had vanished for the rest of his life. Paul Newman never mentioned Sal. Not in his memoirs, not in interviews, not in any documented materials. But Sal's old friends never forgot. They said they had never seen Sal hurt over anyone the way he hurt over Paul, because Paul was the only person who made him believe that love was real, only to then turn him into a secret that had to be buried forever. 5. Tony Perkins and Brandon DeWild, indirectly connected through Newman. An old assistant of Paul Newman once left behind a series of shocking notes in a leaked diary following Newman's death. Paul didn't just cut ties with Sal. He tried to redirect him elsewhere. Tony and Brandon were the two names he mentioned, a kind of quiet matchmaking meant for those who were alike, but weren't allowed to be. The March 1965 issue of Movieland Confidential featured a cryptic tidbit. 3 male stars, one known for a Psycho, one for Rebel, and one for Shane, were seen leaving the same penthouse, each 10 minutes apart. The article was swiftly pulled from newsstands just 6 hours after release, officially due to a printing error. Yet those in the know understood. There had been a private 3-way meeting, with Sal at its center. A manager at the Beverly Hilton Hotel discreetly recorded in an internal report. On one occasion, a guest in room 508 ordered 3 meals, yet the name on the door read only Sal Mineo. Incidentally, Perkins was shooting a film just 10 minutes away from the hotel at the time, and Brandon DeWild had reportedly been attending a charity event, separated from the hotel by nothing more than a back courtyard wall. Perkins was famously private about his personal life and had long been rumored to have had a romantic relationship with Tab Hunter. Brandon, meanwhile, was even more enigmatic. After a few successful roles, he suddenly vanished from the screen without any explanation. In a leaked 1968 casting file, a handwritten note next to DeWild's name read, "Do not place with Sal. Too many questions will be asked." In a drunken moment, Sal once confided to his last close friend, "I used to think Paul abandoning me was a stab in the back. But no, he didn't stab me. He just led me into the woods and left me to the wolves without saying a word." No one truly knows what, if anything, ever happened between Sal, Perkins, and Brandon. But it was precisely the complete silence from all three, within a Hollywood that was otherwise infamous for exaggerating everything, that made the rumors all the more compelling. And what aroused even more suspicion was the way, after Sal's death, both of the other two men remained absolutely silent, refusing to answer any question related to him. At a Palm Springs party, when a reporter asked Perkins, "Did you know Sal Mineo?" he stood up and walked away without saying a word. DeWilde simply sent back a note through his manager that read, "No involvement, no comment." Was there truly something between the three of them? A secret rendezvous, an unreleased tape, or merely a long string of days spent hiding, lived by hearts that were never allowed to be honest? No one knows. Only this remains, written in Sal's 1966 diary, just a single line. "They didn't kill me, they just didn't save me." And after all the hidden loves, the betrayals, the wounds, in the end, Sal did have someone who chose to stay. Openly, steadily, and without erasing him from their life, even after he was gone. 6. Courtney Burr, the last lover, and the most tragic relationship. Courtney Burr was the final name on that list, the last lover of Sal Mineo, and the one who stayed to witness him fall into the deepest abyss of despair. Courtney didn't have the striking looks of James, the glamorous charm of Newman, or the dangerous allure of Brando. He was an acting coach, quiet and modest in demeanor. Yet he was the one who truly understood every person who had walked through Sal's life. And Sal acknowledged that. This was the only person who came not to possess anything, but simply to be there. They quietly lived together for 6 years, staying out of the camera's lens and avoiding the prying eyes of the world. Whenever Sal was overwhelmed by media pressure, Courtney was the one who would lock the doors, turn off the lights, play some music, and hold his hand until he finally calmed down and drifted off to sleep. People casually referred to Courtney as his roommate. But neighbors heard the choked sobs in the middle of the night, the whispered words they exchanged like a married couple hiding something deeply private. On the night of February 12, 1976, Sal was stabbed right in front of his home. Blood pooled across the sidewalk, the key still left in the lock. The first person to open the door and step out was Courtney. According to the police report, Courtney sat beside Sal's body for over 7 minutes before calling 911. He didn't scream. He didn't panic. He said only one thing to the dispatcher: "The person I love has been killed." But that wasn't the headline the media wanted. Just 1 day later, major newspapers ran provocative titles. Who was the last person to see Sal Mineo alive? A co-star? A rival? Or the lover who took his life? The Hollywood Inquirer even published an exclusive piece with a sensational headline: "The Death of Sal, a dangerous 6-year love affair, finally exposed." They didn't let Courtney go. A reporter broke into the apartment to photograph the interior, then described it in detail. There was an unopened bottle of red wine in the fridge, and 2 half-empty glasses, clear evidence that someone had dinner with Sal that night. They turned Courtney from a grieving lover into a suspect, and eventually into an untrustworthy survivor. No one ever asked Courtney how he felt. No one mentioned the fact that every night he was the one who handed Sal his antidepressants, one pill at a time. Not a single word was said about how he had hidden Sal's final audio recording from the tabloids, the tape in which Sal named those who had slept with me, then pretended I never existed. After the funeral, Courtney went to the cemetery alone. No one accompanied him. No family members of Sal. No one from the entertainment world. It was just him and a bouquet of white flowers laid upon a body, one that still bore the label of a controversial death. Courtney never gave a single interview. He didn't write a memoir. He never spoke up to demand recognition of their love. But in a letter to one of Sal's old friends, he left one simple line: "They think I survived, but I died the same moment he did, only I haven't been buried yet." Courtney Burr, the final lover. The only one who stayed until the very end. And also the one the media turned into a scapegoat instead of acknowledging him as a victim. Sal was taken by the hand of a stranger. But the real tragedy lies in this. His final love, too, was reduced to a single cold word: scandal. Hollywood doesn't use a gun to take your life. Instead, it strangles your voice, leaving you mute in a world full of doubt, where the victim is scrutinized and the perpetrator remains untouched, standing far outside the fray. Sal Mineo might have fallen for the wrong person, or perhaps the right person, but at the wrong time. One thing is certain: he'll eat, taking with him countless secrets buried deep in silence. To this day, no one has dared to fully reveal what he once knew, or what he may have hidden. And what about you? Do you believe Sal's death was merely a coincidence? Do you truly believe in a random mugging in the dead of night? Or do you suspect a silent, carefully orchestrated plan, paving the way for the silence of an entire industry? Leave a comment below to share your thoughts. And don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss out on the other horrifying truths slowly emerging from beneath Hollywood's dusty facade. The names coming up next just might give you chills.